By the way. By the looks of it, it's been shot or there's been some sort of shrapnel wound to this poor chap, and you're in a great deal of pain, is that right?
Oh, it's unreal. It's really tender as well.
So for that reason, that looks pretty nasty. We can't do much here, we're on the front line. We have to take him to the battalion aid post, so can you come and get his shoulders there? Let's go and grab him, I'll get the light in.
Oh, my leg.
Right, and here we are. Can you get the bandage, please, Batman? Thank you very much. Here at the regimental aid post, we're going to quickly bandage up the wound. We can't really do much like tie up, yeah. That's fine. We can't really do much more really than just bandage up the wound. There's actually a real problem of infection that could happen here. At this stage, you're quite close to the front line, maybe about 100 metres away or so, and the stretcher bearers are trying to get them back as best they can to this aid post. We are under fire here at the same time. The kind of officers you'd have had here wouldn't be the most skilled men, but they would have had some idea of just how to patch up the man to keep him going. Sorry. Right, let's get back now. Let's get to the casualty clearing station. This isn't to scale, I'll give you that. At the casualty clearing station, the idea now is we've got him far enough back from the line. Sometimes we can have artillery fire hitting us here, but generally we're a bit safer. The thing to realise though, that whole journey could take a whole day. Everything is moving in this direction towards the enemy. All of the ammunition, all of the soldiers going that way. Trying to get a 6 foot long stretcher, which is 2 foot wide through 4 feet wide trenches, is almost a nightmare. And sometimes they hold them above their heads, over the parapet, meaning of course they're quite susceptible to fire themselves. When we get to this stage, the idea now is we can try to remove the shrapnel if possible. If gangrene sets in, of course, there could be a real problem. He could lose his leg or his life as well. And from my own experiences travelling, I've seen this happen, and gangrene can spread right the way up his body and could kill him. Now from this stage, about half the men, hopefully, can return to the front line again. They can recover for a few weeks, or they go further this way, back to Britain, to hospitals like Thorpe St Andrews, where they can be then looked after. So, shall we have a look at some of the injuries they had? Thank you to my assistants there, give me a little clap. Now, we have firstly some of the different ailments that were suffered by soldiers in the war. We have shell shock, put that there. We have chlorine gas burns, which I shall put there. We also have trench foot, of course something that many of you may have come across. We'll come into that in a moment. And finally we have shrapnel wounds into limbs. And this is about half of all the casualties in the First World War were from shrapnel, from shells, penetrating somebody and obviously could in fact kill them. We also have on the other side some of the treatments. Could you put that down for me on the floor? And what I need now is some volunteers to come forward. We've got one already. Some volunteers to come forward and to please sort these for us. Come up this way then, please, volunteer. Give them a round of applause. Okay, Tommy, give us your name.
Tommy.
Excellent. It's not set up, I promise. Tommy was here earlier on, he's keen, I like that. Any other volunteers? Good man, come on down. Now, if you're here earlier on, you might recognise his face. Asher, what's your name?
Dan.
Thank you. Now, chaps, I'd like you, between the two of you, to have a look now at the treatments. So they're bullet pointed with different things you might do to treat the wounds over here, but you don't know which one is which. Could you please match them with the treatment over here? You can come first, not a competition against each other. Tommy, I know from earlier on, does know his stuff, so no pressure, Asher, okay? Ready, steady? Go! We love Channel 42. Yeah, you got that one? Okay, good. Any more? Okay, the last two. This is the challenge. Shrapnel wounds over here. Good. Tommy, please pick up a pair for me. Let's have a look at what you have. Right, the chlorine gas burns. Now, you might not be able to see the picture, but I can go through the symptoms with you. The person, the victim, would find it excruciatingly painful to breathe. He'd be in a great deal of agony. Secondly, he would have his eyes closed and the burns that have affected his eyes and also his skin as well. Even though, of course, we do this in a funny way, these men who would have suffered these injuries would have been in agony. And the treatment that you've chosen, Tommy, quite right, most of it really is to keep him warm, to wrap him up, to put him by an open window or a door so he gets some fresh air, and that's about all he could have. Apart from that, he's either going to die or survive, and he might be permanently damaged for the rest of his life. So it's a very sad situation to be in. So thank you, well done Tommy, we got that one. Should we have a look at another one? So that one's there. Trench foot. Now, this one, a particularly nasty one. You know what your foot's like when it's been in the shower, your hand's been in the bath or something, you get those sort of like soft skin. If your feet had been in water for such a long time, what they realised was sometimes they noticed their foot had started to go a funny smell, maybe it had gone red and swollen, and of course it's quite shocking to them. So, we have trench foot here. Of course, the danger is that perhaps the blood poisoning might now go up his leg and actually poison the man and kill him. So this is a real danger. And what they recommend you do, as you've spotted, is to give him some rest in bed and then to put some alcohol mixture onto the foot, which then could dry, and then some opium type liquids, which will actually relieve the pain. Apart from that, you put some oil into the wound and hope they survive. If the toes go black, then of course they've died, and in many cases the foot would go black as well, and the blood poisoning could in fact kill them. Thank you. Tommy, next one. We have two left. We have shell shock. The British Army had 80,000 cases of shell shock, which ranged, and of course nowadays we probably put them into different categories of psychological disorder. They didn't realise this is the first time they came across this. Shell shock itself normally would have people shaking with absolute fear and terror. You'd have people hiding under beds, people who weren't able to walk any longer. And the treatments were pretty simple. This is the beginning of psychiatry. This is the beginning of trying to get men to talk about their problems, to try to work through what's wrong with them. But in most cases, as an orderly in York said, most of the time you have to be told just to be a man and deal with it in a manly way. The very lack of compassion that they had to this disorder. And of course, as we know, many men would have been shot because of shell shock. They would have been thought to be cowards. And the final one, please, Tommy, which we have, is the shrapnel wound to the limbs. As I say, over 53% of the men suffered from this injury. Pretty disgusting and nasty. This one here, of course, removed the foreign object from the leg, which of course would have been agonising. My great uncle, actually, to the day he died, had some shrapnel on his back they couldn't remove because it's too dangerous. You would also put some iodine soaked with, a bandage soaked with iodine to try and keep the other wound clean. And if there's gangrene, that's when you start cutting and trying to get rid of as much of the gangrene as possible. This is also the beginnings of plastic surgery. And a man called Harold Gillies realised that sometimes people were surviving injuries they wouldn't have done before. And they had horrific facial injuries, and he'd do things like take some of your rib cartilage, put it under your forehead, cut it out after a few weeks and bend it over the face if you're missing a nose, or he'd actually grow some of the skin and take some from the chest to regrow parts of the face. So the actual skin graft was invented in this period because of the horrific shrapnel wounds. We're pretty much done here today. I'd like to thank firstly my assistants, so can you please thank Tommy, the star, and Asher, and also Jake and Ben for being fantastic sports and demonstrating things for us. We hope you've learned something today. Thank you for coming. I'm around if you want to ask me any questions. Thank you very much.
So much. Right, I've got something rather special for you.